Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, glad to have you guys here. Today is Thursday, July 11th, 2019. And let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look at the silver price today. Silver price is $15.18. It's like they say, oh, silver and gold is up, Silver and gold's doing good and everything, but I still see this price suppression still going on, and silver and gold haven't really moved up that much in price, really, from their lows. And I still see it just as more of the same. I don't see gold and silver as really breaking out yet, It's still really rather low. The price is rather low. And the silver and gold manipulation still ongoing. Let's take a look at gold today. 14.13. It's dropped $5 today. It's barely keeping its head above water, above the $1,400 range. And in fact, it broke down below $14 last week. And so a few days ago. So I mean, it's really not going anywhere, big time going anywhere. Now, Bitcoin has been on a tear, and it has been going someplace, up in price. But what we see now is we see that it's leveled off, and it's kind of, we've had a couple red candles in the last day or two. People are a little bit disappointed because the price come back down a little bit. But this is normal. This is sideways movement we've been having ever since it went up and made a peak around 13,800. Now we've been seeing sideways movement. I see this as preparation only for the next leg up later. This sideways movement, what we've been having. You notice it hasn't been dropping real big time. And we've had two red candles now, and I'm half expecting a green candle to be our next candle. To continue along with this sideways movement. Let's take a look now at cryptocurrency. And what we're seeing in cryptocurrency here, I don't mean cryptocurrency, I mean coin market cap. We're taking a look at coin market cap. 316.9 billion with a Bitcoin dominance of 65.6%. Now, we see them running into Bitcoin more than the altcoins. This is why this Bitcoin dominance is rising. Got a rising Bitcoin dominance. We have to keep our eye on this, That itself, the fact that the altcoins are selling off and they're moving into Bitcoin, tells me that we're in for a little bit more of this sideways movement. That's what I think, anyway. And that's what we're seeing in these sell-offs in the altcoins. Litecoin's down near $100. Anyway, let's move on and let's talk about the Dow Jones. We're hitting highs. We're up 139 points on the day so far, 26,999. And, I totally agree. This market is now being held up on hopes and expectations. That's what's holding the market up. Hopes and expectations great expectations. They're lowering rates. It's probably going to be a 25 basis point rate hike cut. But they can make several of these 25 basis point rate hike cuts. They're at 2-point-something%. So they got like over 200 basis points to work with. And so they're making these 25-point cuts. So they can make over 8, maybe 9 of these cuts. Bring us back down to zero, These cuts are not going to work. And the reason why is people have taken out too much debt in the world, all the way across. Not just the small guy who's maxed out on his credit cards, but the big guys too. They've taken out as much debt as they can possibly take out at this point. And so lowering interest rates is not going to help much. Now, when the markets figure this out and the recession deepens a little bit deeper, there's going to be a price to pay in these markets. That's just simple math. There'll be a price to pay. The Fed's going to have to do more than just lowering rates. That's not going to cut it. Let's take a look now at crude oil. crude oil has broken above $60, $60.67. It's up 24 cents on the day. So we got a crude oil price in the sweet light crude oil of over $60 now. Let's take a look now at U.S. Treasuries. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing the U.S. Treasury yields rising all the way out to the end of the yield curve, except for the short end. The short end is falling, but we're seeing the long end of the yield curve rising, and all the way through the middle of the yield curve today. Now it's quite substantial when you get out to the long end of the yield curve. We're getting rises. We're getting rises of over 2 basis points, almost 3 basis points on the 30-year. Treasuries could snap back, but we're going to have to wait and see. You know, I'm going to tell you, can't get that 21 trillion off of my mind that I was talking about yesterday. I mean, the things that they could be doing with that money, who knows, behind the scenes, you know. Anyway, we're seeing bond yields starting to rise. These bond yields could actually snap back at a certain point in this game. We're going to have to keep our eye on the bond market. Let's take a look now at the U.S. dollar index. 97.05. The dollar's starting to pick up this morning a little bit. Starting to rise back up a little bit. But we saw it tapering down earlier. So, that's the dollar. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about all this shaking that's going on over in California. And I want to talk about hurricanes. You know, I was just scouting around on YouTube. There. A few minutes before I did the show. I seen these big headlines. Monster hurricane gonna hit the United States or whatever, and devastation and everything else. So I said, wow, there's a big hurricane coming? Wow, how did I miss that? You know, did that thing brew just last night and I missed it? So I got on the internet, I ran over as fast as I could to the National Hurricane Center. I got it to see, what's this? You know? Big headlines on there. Hurricanes, you know, and all this stuff, right? So, there wasn't any hurricane there. All there is a couple depressions, tropical depressions. And one of them's not even well formed, you know. So, when I do a hurricane report on my channels, believe me, there's a big major hurricane coming. And I've done reports on my channels a lot. Mostly I carry them now over on my hurricane reports. I carry them over on the Delta report. But if you see a headline on my channel that says big hurricane to strike, you can bet when you go to the National Hurricane Center that big hurricane's going to be there, you know, a category 4 or whatever, heading toward land. And I give pretty accurate forecasts on these hurricanes. When I was a kid, you know, growing up in school and stuff, I had an absolute fascination with hurricanes. I always wanted to go and be in one, go to a hurricane, you know, but my mother would never let me go to be in a hurricane. So I mean, I was only like 7 or 8 years old. I used to track and plot these things, listen to all of the reports on them and everything, you know, and studied about hurricanes and books and stuff, you know. I was just one of those things that I did when I was a kid, you know, until I was about, I guess I quit doing it when I was about 16, you know, but all those years when I was like 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, you know, I was just absolutely fascinated with hurricanes. And a few hurricanes did come at Florida, you know, and I was all excited, you know, and then they'd always turn and go the other way, and I was like, oh, no, I want to see a hurricane, Ma! You know, I was fascinated with them. Big storms, you know. So I learned quite a lot about them, how they move and stuff, how they're forecasted. And I can use the same tools off the internet that the National Hurricane Center uses to plot the hurricanes. Basically, sometimes I'm in disagreement with them about the direction a hurricane's going to move. What they use is they use computers. and they plot the course of the hurricane using computer modeling. This is how they do it, you know. And I can use those same tools. There's sites I can go to, and I can get the information almost as fast as the forecasters at the National Hurricane Center. And I've gotten rather good at being able to look at those charts and be able to decipher where the hurricane. Most of the time, I'm in agreement with the National Hurricane Center, but once in a while, I'll see a little thing where they might not be making quite the right call on where the hurricane's going to go or something, you know. But basically, I'll tell you the truth, I guess I never really got over it when I was 16, you know, and looking at these hurricanes and stuff, and I'm still really like into hurricanes. Like, I like hurricanes, you know, not so much that I like what they do. I don't like what they do, you know, destroying people's homes and stuff, but they just fascinate me. Tornadoes do too, you know. Sometimes I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch these tornado videos, people going in and getting as close as they can to tornadoes. You know, tornadoes kind of fascinate me too, but not as much as hurricanes. So that's probably why I do my hurricane reports, is the fact that I'm fascinated in them. And I like to put some in-depth research into each hurricane, and generally I won't do a report unless the hurricane gets to be at least a Category 3, you know. But anyway, we got shaking going on here in California. And I'm not so much interested in earthquakes, but I do understand how they work. There's what's called fault lines. And the earth, basically a fault line, is a part of the earth that's moving in one direction and another part of the earth that's moving in the opposite direction, and it comes together on a spot that's called a fault line. What happens is that earth builds up pressure. One layer of earth is moving in one direction, one layer of earth is moving in the other direction, and they start to slip against each other, and they hold, because earth is something that doesn't slip easily. Like my hand coming together here, when it slips, the earth it doesn't slide and slip easily. There's jagged rocks and everything else, but that pressure builds up against those jagged rocks and stuff deep within the earth's surface, and then all of a sudden it slides because the pressure's built up too much. Well, when it slides in that one particular area, what it does is it releases the pressure there, but the pressure comes on harder down the road a ways, down the fault line a little ways further down. And so that leads to more slippage. And, you know, that's what's happening that's what creates these aftershocks is the initial slippage causes the main quake, boom, and everything shakes really hard. And then you get the aftershock when the pressure's released there, and it has to release a little bit further down in the fault line. And so that's what's going on with this. We're getting this shaking and pressure, you know, that's the moving of the fault lines. There's going to be a big one coming out to California one of these years. And there's cities that are built all the way up into Canada. In fact, this big one might actually shake Canada so bad it can cause a phenomenon called liquefaction, where basically the soil turns to liquid. If you get a bad enough earthquake, you can get a phenomenon called liquefaction, where it shakes the ground so bad that it brings up the water from the water table beneath, and buildings basically just sink during liquefaction. This can happen during an earthquake that's really, really bad. The big one is coming. It's coming out to California. They're overdue, to tell you the truth, you know. So many people live out there. It's amazing what a huge earthquake could actually do. And there is probably one coming in our future at some point. So listen, thank you guys for listening to this market report, and we'll catch you again very, very soon. Bye-bye, guys.